What is going on, squad? We got Jason Aponte in the building. Per usual, it is our Wednesday State of the Franchise episode. Jason, we've been lucky so far. We've had a lot of wins under our belt since we started doing this together, but now we're faced with a really tough loss. Last Wednesday on this channel, we talked about not taking this team lightly at all. What is kind of your takeaway from the game, what we talked about last week, and kind of leading up to what we got?
Pretty much everything we said. One, you weren't going to be able to run the ball and control it that way. You needed a little bit more, and that's what happened. Two, anything that can happen for Seattle will happen, and it will literally be the craziest game of the season. Three, the Seattle Seahawks emptied the tank, and you saw that immediately. I don't know the only thing we didn't get right was that we had the 49ers winning this game. Literally everything else we had came to fruition. And other things that we feared reared its head in this game. Three things we feared. One, Jimmy Garoppolo needed to do more. Two, Tom Compton was going to get put on an island with Carlos Dunlap. That happened. And three, Josh Norman's run of forced fumbles and whatever it is that he does on this defense, it came to fruition and it reared its ugly head. And once Emmanuel Mosley went out of the game, it wasn't even an option anymore. Now you just had to go with him. So a lot of the things that we feared, it was a perfect storm of literally everything that could go wrong. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, the more that when I watched it the second time, I just like, there it is. That's what we were talking about. You know, you win a few games with Tom Compton, you start to feel like you're safe. Well, you weren't going to be able to run the ball. You weren't going to be able to run the ball very well. And you knew that was going to happen. Well, Tom Compton, you got whipped. Josh Norman, you're not punching out any fumbles. You got whipped. Jimmy Garoppolo, we needed a little bit more in this game. Just a little bit more. And what I meant by that was you need to make bigger throws. I understand the last drive you had a chance to finish it, but it should have never came to that. Why'd you turn the ball over on your side? Oh my goodness.
That's a good one. I'm sorry to mess up what you're saying. That's a good one though.
Why do you never see the robber? Why do you never see the underneath linebacker? Why? And then you get a layup throw to Kyle Juszczyk. Why? Why, man? I don't understand. So, I mean, I didn't mean to start on a negative fashion, but basically everything that we feared in this game came to fruition. And it's still hard to take even when you expected all of these things to happen.
Well, absolutely. And it's really hard not to start kind of on a negative note. When the 49ers lose to Seattle, get swept in a year where they really needed and had the opportunity to like switch the tide as what it's been up until this point, because we know, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Seattle's had our number for the better part of a decade. So it just feels like it continues. We've talked about it at length, online, offline, just about the NFC West and just how the division is nuts and just the relationships that these teams have. So we knew going into this, regardless of the Seattle Seahawks limping in at 3-7, we saw it right away. It looked like their offense was dead on arrival. It looks like I was like, oh, we might actually get a shot here to get a 3-and-out, get the ball back, drive it down, put points on the board, and take that crowd out of the stadium. That was the goal. But what did you see with that whole kind of first drive playing out? Obviously, we know the outcome, the big special teams blunder with the touchdown from Travis Homer streaking down the field. What was your just kind of takeaway from that start and just, kind of the special teams aspect, because I know it has been a hot topic amongst 49er fans?
Well, unfortunately, the game starts with a dark cloud when Trenton Cannon gets put into an ambulance before the game, man. And that certainly was an ominous sign right there. And then you get the 3-and-out. The 49ers got a 3-and-out, and then see. All right, we're good.
Yeah, I got you.
We're good. I just dipped away. Okay. Like you're expecting them to do things that are out of the norm. Pete Carroll doesn't take chances, doesn't go for it on fourth down. For him to call that punt, that was a desperate team who needed a spark. And that's exactly touched and go that far. Once he scored, you had to just. Does that me again? Goodness gracious! Hold on.
I think you're back now. Yeah, it was kind
Hold
of.
on. Give me a sec.
Yeah, no
Give me a sec.
worries. No worries. We're gonna get that internet figured out.
Are we good now? All right, we're good.
Yeah,
now,
I got you now.
All right. So it starts to feel like, here we go again. Here we go again. And anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And can you bring that one back up real quick?
This one right here?
One? Yeah.
I got you.
Because I really wanna speak to that because I don't think the two things are as related as people believe. But yeah, that first drive, once they score, it's like, okay, here you go. You knew it was never going to be that simple. You knew that it was never going to be that easy. So right there, you got to respond. And you knew that they were going to throw punch after punch. This is it. That was their Super Bowl. Their season's over. Doesn't matter. They won that game. Their season's over. Doesn't matter. There's only one team with a worse record than them in the NFC right now. Their season's over. So, of course, this was it. They emptied the tank for this game. In terms of this, because I've seen a lot about this, well, why did the 49ers run the ball more? You just watched the Patriots do it on Monday Night Football. Okay, here's the difference. The Bills didn't run what Seattle ran. And what Seattle ran is something that isn't conducive to outside zone and the zone blocking that the 49ers want to do. Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. Aside from one long run from Damian Harris, will we even be talking about what Belichick did in that game? Because everything else was pretty bottled up. The Bills did a great job. Other than that, I don't want to hear about, oh, well, they only threw the ball 3 times. Dude, take away that one long run from Damian Harris, and they scored 7 points. I mean, the game ended what, 14-10?
Yep.
They scored 7 points or something like that in that game, or 6 points because they went for 2 there. Like, the thing is okay, you look at a team's raw numbers in terms of rushing defense, and you say, man, they're at the bottom of the league in rushing defense. You should be able to run all over them. But what if their scheme isn't what works for you? And what I mean by that is, what if what they run is conducive to what everybody else runs, maybe just power runs, things like that? They can stop that. But if you're getting gashed for 13 weeks, but you run specifically something that's very good against zone blocking, that's why numbers don't tell the story. And that's why I never expected this game to end up in any sort of way of 40 rushes, anything like that. So I hate to be too technical, but what Seattle did was put the 49ers in a position where they could not do that, and they could not run the ball. And it wasn't even necessarily loading the box and selling out. The techniques that they were in, the fronts that they showed, they were all right in good spots. And you saw it. Elijah Mitchell didn't exactly have a great game. Appreciate that, Harold. Elijah Mitchell didn't necessarily have a great game. He was fine in this game, but
22 carries, 66 yards, 3 a clip. That's not going to really get it done when we got to own the clock.
Exactly. So, again, I don't think that comparing what happened on Sunday to what happened on Monday for the Bills, that's not the proper way to look at this, and you shouldn't. And I understand not everybody understands, 3 technique, where they're lined up, all of those things. I understand all of that, and I don't want to get too technical or try to sound like the smartest guy in the room because I'm not at all. I noticed the difference there, and I've seen a lot of comparisons, and I don't think that that's fair. And to say that the Bills got embarrassed in any way, I don't think so either. I think that all things considered, you take away that one Harris run, what happened? I mean, they didn't really give up too much. It wasn't like they would get, like when the 49ers ran the ball 35 times, 40 times in an NFC Championship game, it was for 6 a clip, and they scored 40-something points. They didn't score 14. That's the difference. Right. That's the difference.
It's a huge difference, and we all understand what Kyle Shanahan, especially looking at the tale of 2 halves of seemingly what the season has been, seemingly just not being able to get the ball moving on the ground when they were going through that sputtering portion of the year. Obviously, things were able to get figured out, ironed out. The return of George Kittle to be able to come in and block and do all those kinds of things absolutely aided the run game. But still, against a team like Seattle, where we understand that if we give Russell Wilson any type of opportunity, a little crack, anything, he's going to fit his way in there and he's going to bust it wide open, because that's what Russell Wilson does. That's why all 49er fans have PTSD surrounding games against Seattle. We talked about this specifically on the show last week. I think we were even talking about on this channel, like the 49ers could have dominated the game for 3.5 quarters. All it takes is 2 or 3 possessions from Russell Wilson to get it done. We know he's capable of doing it. And so that's why the run game really needed to be something that was beneficial. Unfortunately, like you said, just the way they played against the run fits, the way they were able to put us out of leverage is, I think, essentially what you're trying to say, which is hard when you're running zone. Yeah. It just puts them at a disadvantage. On the bright side, however, we got to see a George Kittle explosion. It's been a while.
Woo.
It's been a while. We got 9 receptions, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns.
First multi-touchdown game in George Kittle's career. That stat really blew me away. That's insane. And thank you, George. What a game, man. You were incredible. And it's not just him. It's not just him. There's plenty to talk about. But we can just sit on George Kittle real quick, because you know where I'm going with it next, who had the best game out of everybody in this game. And for anyone who had any doubt about what you think about the next guy that I'm going to talk about, and I think you already know, I think that's now. But George Kittle, man, that tiptoe touchdown, that route, I mean, that's it. In a game where he needed to be, where Brandon Ayuk wasn't exactly his best in this game. Dropped that pass on the tunnel screen. Yep. He was open a bunch. When you watch the film, that's fine, whatever. We don't have to like nitpick on that, or just, I guess not nitpick, but beat a dead horse. I think we all know at this point, like, I don't want to be that, right? Because I think I yelled my back out on Sunday after the game about the quarterback. I already yelled my back out about that.
You tweaked it, like throwing something at the TV, probably.
Yeah. But George Kittle, man, hey, buddy, what's that? 3 straight games with touchdowns. I mean, just or no, he didn't score. He didn't score last week. But yeah, man, I just, what a game, and he's such a pleasure to watch play football, man. And you should be happy. He's healthy. He's playing well. Get that man the ball. Get him the ball in space.
Absolutely. And shout out Ryan B. Also shout out Harold for the contributions, guys. We really do appreciate it. You guys are helping both our channels. We're both linked right now. We're both live on each of our channels. Make sure you're subbing to Jason's channel as well as mine. Let's keep this good energy going. I know we didn't get the win that we wanted, but there were positives to take away, and we'll kind of steer towards the positives, and then we'll end it with some of the spicier takes, because we'll save those towards the end, because there is some stuff that we need to talk about. We need to get to the bottom of it, but it is what it is. Shout out everyone who is in the chat, though. The chat is undefeated, so we appreciate you guys. How do you think the 49ers did? I mean, obviously, we just talked about George Kittle, but without Debo Samuel in the lineup, do you think that was just immensely impactful to the performance that we saw against, the Seattle Seahawks? Is Debo Samuel just been like this magic eraser for a lot of the 49ers problems on offense?
Yes. And also, I have to say that I'm wrong. I felt that Fred Warner's absence would be felt more than Debo Samuel's. I was dead wrong. Dead wrong. Every time this team needs a play, it's always Debo. Out of the backfield, as a wide receiver, always Debo, man. And this was missed. I love Brandon Ayuk, but that tunnel screen that was thrown to him, if that's the Debo, he probably catches that and he probably gains yards. And yeah, he was missed. There was just an element to this offense that was missing. When you needed a big play, he wasn't there. So I was wrong, 100% wrong. I expected Aziz Al-Shaair to play very well, but I didn't expect him to play out of his mind, best game that he's ever played in his life, and literally almost had a Dre Greenlaw moment that would have made you forget about Dre Greenlaw. We'll talk about that in a little bit real quick. But yes, Debo Samuel was absolutely missed, because whenever this team has needed a play, anytime that they've been down in the dumps, it's been him that has come through for them. And yes, he was absolutely missed in this game. So I missed on that one completely.
He was missed. He was missed immensely. Again, he's been the explosive. He's been the guy that we needed to look to, just like you said. Shout out, Luke. Appreciate it. He's been the guy that we've really relied on for those explosives. And now Elijah Mitchell has been really good kind of churning out the tough yards. We still see the progression in his game, is the ability to still become a little bit better at finding the holes, seeing the holes, hitting it with timing, all those kinds of things. We know that comes with experience, and it will eventually be there. But with the Debo Samuel being out, he provides so much explosive plays for the 49ers that without it, it just feels like the offense is really non-existent at times. However, though, we were able to, and I want to transition right into it because we brought it up. I think Aziz Al-Shaair was the star of the game and is quickly turning into the star of the entire defense this year, even with Nick Bosa getting 12 sacks. And Nick Bosa's importance is always propped up and is huge for the defense. But Aziz Al-Shaair is everywhere doing everything. Like, he's flying around. Just talk about Aziz Al-Shaair at 11 tackles, 5 assists, half a sack. Just talk about his rise, his progress, like what he did in this game, and just how meaningful it really is.
Been trying to tell you. And everybody gets mad at you when you say something that they don't like because they remember 2019. I tried to tell you, right. Dre Greenlaw can't do that. Let's just face facts now at this point. Dre Greenlaw can't do that. He can't wear the green dot in the biggest game and be flying around. That's not Dre Greenlaw. It's not. He's not that guy, pal. He's not that guy.
He's not that guy, pal.
Aziz Al-Shaair is. And when people say that, it's like, stop downing our players. No. Watch the tape. Watch the tape. I mean, he just flies around, man. I mean, for him to have the green dot for the first game and to take it that well and to play that well, I expected him to play solidly. I didn't expect him to have the best game that a middle linebacker's had of any middle linebacker this entire season, including Fred Warner. I didn't expect that.
No.
But he's just been everywhere. He's everywhere the ball is. He literally, like I said, if Jimmy Garoppolo scores on that touchdown, you are talking about, let's say they score and they go for 2. You are talking about that Aziz Al-Shaair play like you're talking about that Dre Greenlaw 2019 play.
Exactly.
You are talking about it in that same fashion. 3rd and goal, gets in there, helmet on the ball, balls out, and that's it. And you know what? They almost scored, right? They get down the field and they go there, right? But Aziz Al-Shaair has been indispensable. I don't know where this team would be defensively without him. And he's had one bad game in a game that the entire defense had a bad game. But Aziz Al-Shaair is incredible, man. It seems like the last 3 weeks, and this is no hyperbole, the last 3 weeks, oh, this is his best game. Next week, oh, this is his best game. Oh, wait, this is his best game. Do you see it? It's happening, right? It's happening when you add more on his plate. He is playing better. And I don't know what else to say about the kid, man. And if you don't see it now at this point, it's either you just don't want to see it or you just really love Dre Greenlaw. You have that 2019, knockdown at the goal line over your bed, like the picture. Like, other than that, I don't see what the way the comparison is at this point. I really don't. Because take that away, right? Take the other play in the Seattle game away, and then look at 2020 going into 2021 and how they played. Obviously, Dre Greenlaw's only played 1 or 2 games. I don't even think it's really close. It's not even really close.
Absolutely. And I also, too, I'm not a big analytical guy, big stat guy. I just rely on my eyes a lot to kind of tell me what is what. Obviously, there's a great place for analytics to be able to drive information and things like that to kind of quantify the play that we're seeing. And I wanted to just go look because Darius Leonard, the Colts linebacker, 2-time All-Pro, has been a guy that I just respect. I respect his game. He's a former D2 player, 2nd-round pick. He's been balling out. Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2018. He's been good. That being Darius Leonard in his young career. And I just wanted to see what he was doing this year and compare it to Aziz. And he's played 2 more games than Aziz. But if you really look at the stats, just, the baseline major statistical categories, they're pretty damn even. They're dead even on assisted tackles. Darius only has 11 more total tackles. with 2 more games. But other than that, they're pretty much even across the board other than the forced fumble category. So I just think Aziz Al-Shaair, I mean, the eye test, he's passing it, but we start stacking up the stats. We start comparing because that's what we do as fans, as people who analyze. We compare and contrast to try to place. And I think with this, as this season continues to grow, we are just going to keep raising Aziz and his stock and where he sits in the landscape of the entire NFL. Aziz Al-Shaair is playing, probably is having one of the best years out of any linebacker in the NFL. And I don't know what you think about that, because I know you watch a lot of other football as well. But would you say that he's at least entering the discussion of like, this guy's playing at a different level?
Obviously, I'm biased because I watch a lot more 49ers, but I watch everybody, and the impact that he's having can't be understated. And that's where I think stats fail you. There are a lot of easy stats like tackles, right? Somebody could lead the world in tackles, right? Last game he was healthy, Greenlaw got a pick 6. The ball fell right into his hands. He was standing right there. Like he didn't like undercut something. The Aziz interception on Adam Thielen was much more impressive than Greenlaw's pick 6. And that's not even close.
Yes.
He recognized the coverage, got under it. Drake Greenlaw, the ball was tipped and it fell into his hands. And he scored. I mean, I'm glad he scored, and obviously that's not easy to do, but those interceptions aren't even close. But in terms of impact, there's a lot of empty stats. There's people that lead the league in tackles, right? Like Blake Martinez, right? Leads the world in tackles year after year. In no fashion is he a top 10 linebacker. He is just a guy that is
he's so bad
on the back end. Yeah,
he's not good. Like he's okay he was a 5th round pick. He was okay for being like a 5th round pick. He's a starter, but he's not a world beater or anything.
Right. Stats should be one portion of how you evaluate. Stats cannot be end all be all. And that's why when people just bring them up, I'm just like, okay, so you're not watching. Impact is different. There may be a play where Aziz Al-Shaair pushes somebody and doesn't get a tackle, but he pushes him into another tackler because he went to his run fit and he set it up perfectly. And I think that's a lot of the stuff that's missed. So I think in terms of impact, yes, Aziz is up there with anybody at this point. Darius Leonard is who he is, and he's in the top tier, right? It's him and Fred and Levante David and those guys, right? Like we get that. Bobby Wags, who showed up again this game. The
sure did.
Bobby Wagner,
we'll get to that in a sec.
but at the same time, right now, impact-wise, Aziz Al-Shaair, man, I don't know how you can't say that right now he's not one of the most impactful linebackers in the game, and I don't even really think that's an opinion.
I agree. I think we're on to something there. And Jason, you've been on it from the jump. I've been on it from the jump. We've been hyped, man. We've been on the Aziz train, and we are pulling out of the station. So it's been really cool to see, like, when guys like you can kind of project these things. Like, we see these traits on tape and at the end of the 2020 year, and we're like, oh, we might be onto something, and it comes to fruition. It's pretty cool. So we do got to give our respects to Jason because he's been on the Aziz hype.
Yeah, but you too, and a lot of people have. Javi has, Rich Madrid has, a lot of people have. And I think that, you know what? Look, all right, I want to say this too. When I say that he's better than Greenlaw, I'm not trying to like down Greenlaw. I think it's a great problem to have. Now you've got 3 very solid starters in this league, and all 3 offer something a little bit different, right? Aziz is evolving now in terms of understanding the coverages, right? When you see that, and that's what really got me excited about the interception, because he's obvious thumper and he's doing well in run defense, but now if he's able to diagnose these coverages, he's diagnosing what they want to do. Man, I don't know. Like the ascension is great. So, and we know that Greenlaw is a converted safety. He's great. Hey, look, G-Rod, don't say that too loud, because when you say that on Twitter, people don't like it. And I said that how many weeks ago, Brad, on this show? And I was waiting for people, and I said it on Grant's show, and the comments lit me up. I can't wait. I'm going on Grant's show tomorrow. I cannot wait to take my victory lap. And anybody who disagrees at this point, you can get something for Drake Greenlaw. I understand keeping him for depth, and I'm with that, keeping him for depth. But there is still a perception around him, obviously, because there's still 49er fans that say that they want him to start over Aziz. But you can get a second. You can net a third. And the 49ers need all of the draft capital they can get. Now, I'm good either way. You want to keep him for depth? Cool. You want to net you a draft pick? Cool. I'm with that too as well, especially because of what Aziz has shown. So, I mean, I think it's a good problem for the 49ers to have. I don't think there's any wrong way for them to go about this. Drake Greenlaw's a converted safety, and that's it. That'll be fine.
Absolutely. Let's get a couple of these super chats in, and then we'll keep it rolling. Miguel says Kyle seems to value a potential third or fourth round pick for Jimmy over the first round picks they gave up for Trey Lance and his development. I feel like he doesn't value third or fourth round picks. He wants a haul for Jimmy. Is like, at least that's what I take away from the whole trade conversation.
And I think that it's not as crazy as it sounds. Right? Like, look, for all the words that Jimmy Garoppolo has, right, and the things that we pointed out, trust me, I yelled a ton Sunday, and most of it was directed at him, just because that was what I was predicting all week, is that you need a good Jimmy Garoppolo game. You cannot have him turning the ball over. You're going to need a little bit more. Can't just be efficient. You got to make some big boy throws in this game, and you've got to help win this game. But look what Carolina got for Sam Darnold. Now, I understand Sam Darnold's young, and you want to attribute whatever it is to Adam Gase. That's fine. That's cool. But there are more people than you think that gravitate towards the win-loss record than you would believe. I understand that shouldn't tell the whole story. Trust me, I had a conversation with a few football fans in my fantasy league of differing teams. One of them was a Giants fan. And he said, well, hey, all Jimmy does is win. And see, he's not the only one who feels like that. A lot of teams, a lot of front offices believe that. So I don't know if you should stop at a third or fourth round pick. That doesn't mean that I believe he should be valued more than that, but that doesn't mean that another front office doesn't value him like that. And I think that that's the portion that's a little bit off, right?
I think a perfect example and a parallel to that exact point is how Patriots fans view Jimmy G till this day.
Oh, yeah.
They still look at him like he's the savior of the franchise, and they got Mac Jones. Like, I know they've transitioned to Mac Jones, but before Mac Jones was the pick, you could ask any Patriots fan, we want Jimmy G. We want to trade for Jimmy G. We want Jimmy G to come back home. He's our king. Like, just because we are isolated and insulated in our 49ers Twitterverse, and it's just a lot of bad conversations about the quarterback, the national perception based on the wins, like you spoke about, and some of the things that he does well, we've talked about his technique quite a bit. Like, he has good technique. He has a good ability to like get the ball out fast and accurate at times. There are people who value that. Again, look at what the Steelers have right now, and they're declining Ben Roethlisberger. Like, it's just not pretty. So Jimmy, he can be a starter in this league, but it's just we don't value him as a fan base as it doesn't match the other perceptions. I mean, there are people who, analyze sports and they watch the games and they'll come away with similar opinions that you and I have. But the guys who just kind of see the wins, like you talked about, win-loss, like, oh, they're winning. He's quarterback. Yeah. So it works out.
That's what I had to tell the Giants fan is, okay, he's 7-9 out of his last 16 games. And someone said, and he said, wait, really? Yes, really. So just, and again, I'm glad you brought up Pittsburgh. Their offense is right now, the way that it's running with Ben Roethlisberger, absolutely a fit for Jimmy Garoppolo. Dante Johnson runs quick in routes, PPR God, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Chase Claypool running all over the place.
And they use Claypool the way that they wanted to use Jalen Hurd. And you talk about Juju Smith in the slot running underneath routes and dump offs to Najee Harris. Man, what a fit. And Pittsburgh.
Cooking with gas. And they're playing like cold weather, like all that good stuff. That's perfect for Jimmy.
For a small price of a first or second rounder, you can have this jawline. You can have it for the small price of a first round pick. That jawline could be yours, and your offense can operate in the same fashion that it is right now.
Oh my god!
Just saying. Pass it on to your
first
Steelers
round
fans,
pick.
friends. First round pick. That's all. Just a little.
Woo! That's
small first round pick.
Just a first round pick. That's all.
Just a first round.
Absolutely. Let's get through a couple more of these, and then we'll try to get back on track. Official BNA Music 88. The Jimmy QAnons have been in denial about their savior. Jimmy is more likely to see the middle linebackers before they see the truth. Ooh.
Ouch.
We'll get into that.
Ouch.
We'll come back to this and we'll reference this exact point. Again, appreciate the contributions. Oh man, they're coming in like crazy. Jimmy's like like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. Ooh,
He's streakier than my
that's
undies. Anthony,
that's
come on, man.
that's a little too real, man. Come on.
I mean, I hope not. I hope that's just a saying. I hope that's just a
But happy holidays, Anthony. We appreciate
happy
you
holidays,
watching.
Anthony.
We
for sure.
appreciate the super chat.
I
We
know what
really,
to send you
really
for Christmas now.
Oh my goodness. Luke Luna says, "Hope we can keep Aziz. He earned the bag loyalty.
A restricted free agent." Restricted free agent, so that he'll be able to they'll be able to match any sort of offer that he's given. But there have been rumblings of an extension that is already in the works. Hope so, and I would love the same too, Luke.
Absolutely. So, like I said, guys, we are going to get into the quarterback conversation. We're saving it for the last because we do want to kind of flush it out. There's Jimmy Garoppolo conversations. The timeline is flooded with Trey Lance conversations, so we're absolutely going to get into it. We're going to get into it, trust me. But before we get into it, why don't we start with this specific topic? Because it's a problem right now, even though HR is saying suggestions to fix the mess at cornerback next season. What about this season? What about this season, Jason?
I've got some for this season.
Let's go. What is it?
Pray to whatever God you worship and any idol that you can, or any sort of good luck charm. And I'm going to say something right now that is going to get people upset, or either just say Jason doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no credibility. But I'm going to say it. I am less worried about Dante Johnson than I am Josh Norman in this Cincinnati game. Way less worried. Let me explain. Again, I've been on here. We understand what Dante Johnson is. Solid player, can go to the nickel, flip in and out. But there's no tape of him getting absolutely torched. Nobody can find it. For everybody who's worried about him getting burned, find it. Show me the tape. Where is it? He doesn't commit penalties. He's a solid player. You know what else he does? He knows his assignments. Fred Warner went to the podium today and said he has all the confidence in the world in Dante Johnson because he's smart and he knows what he's going to do. Now, Josh Norman can't cover a bed with a blanket, doesn't do his assignments, and holds everybody. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you're more worried about Dante Johnson than Josh Norman? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And another thing, Diamador Lenoir went out there, and obviously the things didn't work out perfectly, right? But again, in the interest of absolute reps, and I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, right? Cobb still has his team on a playoff projection and everything. And look, if that's the case, Dante Johnson is much more solid than Diamador Lenoir is at this point, everyone else, and even Josh Norman. Dante Johnson is going to be the best cornerback on the field on Sunday.
I agree.
And that's not even, I don't really feel like that's an opinion. Again, everybody makes jokes about Dante Johnson, but there's no tape of him getting burnt. Never. He's a solid player. He's solid. I get it. It's not sexy. But Josh Norman is holding people and getting burnt. Josh Norman is not doing his assignments. He's literally just doing whatever he wants. Josh Norman got beat by DK Metcalf, and Russell Wilson threw the ball out of bounds. If he throws it anywhere in the direction of DK Metcalf, he catches it. Josh Norman goes like this, and then looks in the camera like,
clamps. We clamped him.
And he looked in the camera, and I was looking at the TV like, I would just turn my ass around and get right back into the huddle. How dare you act like you did anything on that play, my man? But if you're worried, like, I threw a joke out there, me waking up in the middle of the night thinking about Josh Norman and Dante Johnson. But Dante's better than Josh Norman. Dante's better than Josh Norman. And that's, I think, the whole reason I'm yelling right now.
Is it kind of disrespectful in a sense? Like, I mean, we're not in that locker room. You and I, we talk about the human element of football all the time. Like, these are people. These are people with human emotions. Again, we all want to be the best at what we do. We all want the starting job. We all want, we all want the best for ourselves. We want the best for our team too. But when they sign a guy like Josh Norman, they plug him in over the top of you, and he's just every week, just something comes up. It's a getting burnt toast here, doing something dumb over here. Again, the play, I think I love KP's breakdown of Niners Nation. That that little video he did, the film breakdown. I don't know if you saw it of
Yeah, that's the same play. If you watch the end of that play,
it's the same play exactly.
Yeah, if you watch the play, he turns and he points in the camera. Like he's Jalen Ramsey on clamps.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild to see because he absolutely got demolished because he does what he does. He plays out of technique. He plays out of his responsibility, which is reckless and doesn't benefit your team. And so, and I love that Fred Warner came up and said that about Dante Johnson because that kind of feels like it's like, come on, guys. Like, he's smart. He's going to be in position. Josh Norman doesn't benefit you because he's always out of position and or just getting burnt. At least get the guy who knows the responsibility, who knows who's going to play the correct technique and be in position to at least be in to defend. With Josh Norman, it just gets burnt on the daily because he's using the incorrect technique. It'd be like me playing offensive line and using improper technique and expecting to win blocks. It just doesn't work that way.
Right, especially when you're in the film room and they're teaching you this is the call, this is what you should be doing, and especially when other guys on the defense are trying to show you. It's just I don't know, man. At least Dante Johnson is going to do his job and be in his assignment. That's all you can really ask. Is he athletically as gifted as you'd like? No, but I'd rather take the guy who is solid. So, like, Norman's our team. I'm crying.
Dude, the
right
comments
now,
are on fire today. Shout out the comment section. The comment section is cooking with gas.
Now Norman's our team. My God, we are off the rails now at this point, man. Goodness gracious, man. If Norman's our team, pack it all up, man. Pack it all up. Goodness gracious. That was a ticking time bomb. That was going to eventually happen. That game was eventually going to happen. And that's it.
Yeah.
And again, it's one thing if you're in the proper spot, you're doing what you need to do, and you know what, maybe just athletically, you're not there to make plays, right? That's it, right? Or something like that. But when you're going rogue, allowing easy catches and you're getting burnt and you're holding, I don't understand, man. I don't see what you bring to the team, but hey, he's our team. So I feel way better now. And Dante Johnson is 100 times better than Josh Norman. So let's just put that on the let's just make sure we end it there. Jesus Christ. There's no film of Dante Johnson getting cooked. God. None. Go find it. If you can find it, I will Venmo you $10. Find it.
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure I've really seen a fan base, at least this fan base, like a lot of people took shots at Brian Allen, but under the context of Brian Allen in 2020 getting thrown to the wolves, he was signed off the street that week.
And he hadn't played in 3 years.
We threw him as a starter over a kilo. Like, what are we doing? So with that, like, okay, well, I give him a pass. I know 49er fans absolutely demolished him, but with Josh Norman, like, it's just unbelievable. Week in, week out, like we could go on. I could go on forever. I could rant forever about Josh Norman.
You'll sit, and the reason that he's been a liability, the reason that people are cool with it is because he punches the ball out here and there. And this was my problem.
Exactly.
I want to say, what happens when he doesn't punch the ball out? What happens when he's not doing that? That's it. That's it, man. And that's exactly what happened right there. How does a former All-Pro go back? How does a former All-Pro forget his technique? The thing is, Jason, I like that name too, Jason. The thing is, Jason, when you get by with physical gifts before, right? Because you can play out of technique when you're able to you're clamping guys up and things like that. You can get away with that stuff. But when your skills diminish and you've never been that type of guy, then now it's like, now you're in trouble, because this is the one thing that Richard Sherman was able to switch over, because he wasn't exactly the most athletically gifted. He was just the smartest. He understood concepts. But when when his physical skills were failing him, he was so on point with his technique that it was easy for him to rely on that. And that's the problem. That's the problem, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we could go back. I could talk about.
No, that's it. We cooked him.
Yeah, he's cooked. He's cooked. It is what it is.
Oh, no, he ain't cooked yet. You'll see. You will see.
So when he eventually gets released from this team, I think it's going to be quite the day on 49ers social media across all platforms. It's going to be insane, but it is what it is. We're going to move on. Let's stick on the cornerback position. Although we just had some fun kind of at the expense of Josh Norman, because at the end of the day, we'll call a spade a spade. He's not playing well. Kyle Shanahan went to the podium, I think on Monday, when he was talking to just beat reporters, and he specifically verbalized that he's looking for Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenoir to push the veterans. To you, is that a sign that maybe there's a change in the guard coming? Maybe that they're just about to throw their hands up with potentially Josh Norman and just say, one of you young guys has to step up? Who's it going to be? And who do you think does potentially get that bump? And if they do get that bump, how do you think it's going to turn out?
Well, I think that realistically what it should be is you'll live with certain things as long as it's in the name of development. And that's it. Josh Norman's not going to develop. He's not. So if Lenoir's getting his bumps
developing
and bruises,
into a headache, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, he's been a headache or whatever, but he punches the ball out here and there. So everybody let that live. I mean, we've been yelling about him since the Arizona game. I didn't want him on the team anymore. Enough about Josh Norman. That's it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you're going to put them out there, you've got to learn to live with the bumps and bruises. Very similar to the way that we spoke about Jalen Moore, okay? When you put him out there in place of McGlinchey, it can't just be, oh, well, anything's better than McGlinchey, which now we found out, hey, guys, that's wrong, it has to be in the name of development. If he misses a block, he misses something, then you have to say, okay, now learn from that. That's fine. You'll take the bumps and bruises. Same thing with Lenoir and Thomas. If I had to pick one, I want to pick Lenoir. I don't want to come off as negative. Ambry Thomas scares the life out of me. Mm-hmm. And that's
because we saw him in training camp for the majority of camp.
So saw him in camp. The Michigan film does not encourage anything, in my opinion, because I put on his best game in terms of he had an interception and a PBU, and it was against Michigan State in his last year, and there were cause for alarm in terms of when he gets beat, he tackles. And the technique and the interception was thrown to him was a poorly underthrown ball that he stood under. That was a punt. So I had my concerns. Then we get to camp. And in camp, it doesn't get better. And I understand he hadn't played all year, right? He took a year off. Okay, right. I'll give you that. Then it doesn't happen in preseason games. Then he gets thrown out there at the end of the Jacksonville game. And then he gets cooked in that game. Ambry Thomas scares the life out of me. And at least Lenoir has games of him playing well, right? I understand Jason Verrett was on the other side, and they weren't testing him as much. And the Lions wide receiver group isn't any reason to be afraid or anything like that, especially in that game. But
and Philly too, you had a little bit better receivers, but not much. Rookie
and he had that one play.
Jalen Reagor.
He had that one play over his head that at the end. But you'll take that in the name of development. So if you're gonna do that, just make sure you view what he's doing with the correct lens. It cannot be immediately Lenoir gets in there, and if he gives up 2 plays over his head, oh my God, this guy sucks. No.
Right.
No, it can't be that. You have to be able to live with the bumps and bruises if it's in the name of development. And I think that that's the way that all rookies should be viewed. But I am scared to death. Thank you, Javi. I'm scared to death of Ambry Thomas. And I hope I'm wrong. But everything that I saw when I watched this Michigan film, what I saw in camp, what I saw at preseason, it doesn't instill confidence. So I'll say Lenoir. But I think Croc made a good point about Lenoir. Lenoir is more suited to be a nickel, I think. And if you know anything about cornerback play, those are 2 separate things. Like a nickel and an outside corner it might as well be the difference between a quarterback and a linebacker.
Right. It's like a center versus a tackle. Just technique is completely different, although they're O-line or cornerback, just completely different technique in everything you do.
Nickels have to have run fits. They have to understand how to stop the run, and they have to cover. So it's completely different, right? Those are like, you don't expect your corners to be great run defenders. That's not what they're there for. But your nickel guy has to be that. And that's the thing. So I think that he's a little bit more, what Croc said is that he's a little bit more suited to be a nickel. I'm a little bit more inclined to believe that because when he came out, we all thought, oh, here's the replacement for KK. Yes, we know. K1 Williams is probably not going to be here next year. That's the point, right? That's why you draft You draft Lenoir to take
You
over
draft
for K1.
multiple years ahead and you
Correct.
pre-plan.
Yes.
Right.
So that was the point. When you draft Lenoir, it was okay. He's the replacement for KK when it's time. So maybe there is a world where he's not an outside corner. Maybe there is that world. Yeah. But if you ask of the two, then I'll go with Lenoir at this point just because he's done a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I didn't know that K1 Williams played nickel though. That was something that
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
We needed that reminder. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely needed it.
This is actually kind of a good point by Javi. Niners are in a weird spot. Develop youth while trying to win. Can't live with big mistakes in the name of development while trying to win. They did this to themselves, though. And it's a bit of that. And like we're in the situation now where we got 1 foot in the playoffs and we got 1 foot in our grave. So it's like each game becomes that much more serious. And just a quick peek towards the Bengals. The Bengals are coming in with firepower. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Uzama's no slouch either as a route running tight end. Joe Mixon. They got weapons, man.
Amen.
So what do you think? Just a quick little preview there. Like, it's going to be a long day for the 49ers and the defensive backs against the Bengals.
Yeah, and everybody's scared about Jamar Chase. I'm actually way more scared about T. Higgins. If you look overall the last few weeks, T. Higgins has been
stud.
He's been getting lit up with targets, and he's a jump ball guy.
On that dude's name.
Jump ball guy, and that's a problem, right? Like, Dante Johnson can't stop T. Higgins, and neither can Josh Norman. And I think that if you just throw it up in his area, he's going to go get it. That kid is a stud, man. He is balling out. If you've looked at his last 3 games, I believe he's had like 10, 11 targets the last 3 games. If he gets 11 targets in this game, then you're going to start to look at a stat line of like 7 for 140 and a touchdown. And that's going to be just death. Yeah.
Oh, God. We're going to have to be – and it puts the 49ers in so much conflict because we're already light at the position. Is who do we put the priority towards? It's pick your poison at that rate. So that's going to be a whole nother conversation and situation, and we'll touch on the Bengals in a little bit. But let's keep going on the Seahawks game and kind of everything that went into play. What are your thoughts quickly on kind of the defensive line play? I would say the front 7. Obviously, we had Talanoa Hufanga fill in at linebacker. We had Nick Bosa get his 12th sack on the year. We haven't talked about DJ Jones yet. I think DJ Jones needs a shout out because he had 7 tackles, a huge forced fumble, and a couple tackle for losses. Talk to me about some of those guys on the front 7.
That's where I wanted to start with DJ Jones, man. I mean, is there more a player that has been underrated on his defense that continues to make plays? I mean, DJ Jones, for a big man, seems to be everywhere. Everywhere. The backfield, the flat, over the middle, like put him at corner. Put DJ Jones at corner now. Let's just now let's get nuts. Put him at cornerback and let's just see what he can do at this point. He's that athletically gifted, but I'm very happy for him, man. He's playing very well. Obviously, Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa. We don't have to talk about that. Eric Armstead had a very good game in this game as well. I believe he had 5 total pressures in this game, according to PFF. And I mean, the defense played well, man. The defense played well. They were put in some bad spots. Obviously, there was some rough patches, like the 2 roughing the passer calls. Didn't mean to like make that pun, anything like that. But I felt like the defense played well. I think that they played well in this game. And I think that, it's just when you look at everything that happened in this game, I think that the defense is the least of the worries at this point in that game, or what deserved the most criticism. I think that considering everything they performed as well as they could, the 49ers got some balls to bounce their way. Shout out to Gerald Everett. He was probably one of the best 49ers players in this game too, man. Gave us a gift interception, fumbled the ball twice. Shout out to him, man. He was trying his best to help the 49ers out, man. He really was trying.
He was.
But for a team that really wasn't getting bounces, to have that fumble at the goal line right there in the 4th quarter, to have that interception off of Gerald Everett's foot, things went their way. The game was there for them to be won, even in the face of all adversity. So, I mean, I think that the defense, for all it's worth, in certain spots, certain players didn't play well. But as a whole, I think they did as good as they could, especially when you talk – as well as they could, especially considering the circumstances on some of the times that they had to get back on the field.
I've got a question for you. It's kind of more of a overall season kind of overview thought process. Based on the limitations of personnel that the defense has had based on injuries, obviously we know the offense has had injuries as well at key positions, right tackle, running back. Debo's out right now. Which group has played the best considering the available personnel? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. I think this is going to sound biased, but I think lately it's been the D-line. But I think for the year, I would say Fred and Aziz.
Mm-hmm.
And
And would you say the defense as a whole unit too, like offense versus defense? Basically, like thinking of it in the sense of we've heard what's his name, D'Amico, get thrown under the bus, fired D'Amico, remember, after week 3 and the situation with Green Bay. But looking at the overall health of both units, offense versus defense, Kyle Shanahan as the head coach and offensive coordinator of the offense, D'Amico, DC of the defense, health, and where they're performing based on who's available, who would you give that nod to? And basically, is Jimmy and the offense performing to the level they should based on who's available, or is the defense kind of playing to the level they're supposed to based on who's available?
I think that when you look at rookie defensive coordinator, I think that the defense is playing as well as they can, especially with somebody who's a first-time play caller. And you're talking about the injuries, right? Fred Warner's out in this game. There was Jimmy Ward being out. I think that they're playing as best as they can. And when it comes to the offense, it's so up and down. And we talked about it. One game, the defense will show up, the offense won't. One game, the offense will show up, the defense won't. And it's frustrating. We got our first complete game, which was the Rams game. You got closer to a complete game when it came to the Jacksonville game, and then the same thing with the Vikings. And then this game felt like the offense kind of put the 49ers in bad spots, man. The special teams unit also, I mean, I don't think that we can gloss over that. I mean,
right.
Mitch Wisnowski was punting the ball as far as my daughter could.
We're here for all the special team slander.
Am I lying? 32-yard punt, 4th-round pick, boom and Mitch. That's what y'all want. That's what you. If you're a 4th-round pick, you better put that ball on the one.
Jason,
you better put that ball on the one every single time. I don't want to hear about. Oh, well, he tackles good. No, he doesn't. He don't even do that. Right. Robbie Gould. Oh man, don't make me unload the clip. Robbie Gould. But forget it. You already know what I'm about to say. Special teams is honestly a big reason why this team was in the position that they were in this game. And I like what Richard Hightower said, because what else is he supposed to say? It's on me, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's not good enough. Well, what's the man supposed to do? Work on it, learn, and get better. That's it. Can he? I don't know. But at least he said the right thing. But special teams is a problem, man. When your punter, who you spent the 4th-round pick for, punts the ball 32 yards, and it's not like the game was in Buffalo, because those guys were trying to punt, and it was going out of bounds after 10 yards because it was 50-mile-an-hour winds. What's your excuse, Mitch? Why are you here? Oh, you tackle good. No, you don't. What are you here for? What are you here for? Seriously. So when you give me all this pushback about why I hate the idea of a 4th-round pick as a punter, this is why. What do you do? Why are you here? Put the ball on the one if you're going to be a draft pick. Punters they should be a Walmart where you go and you just like you go down the aisle with a shopping cart and you just say, "Oh, this punter's on sale. Cool. Put him in the thing and just go and check them out." You don't draft them. You don't use a draft pick. You don't pay punters or kickers. It's insane what this front office is thinking in terms of this roster construction. You don't double down on an aging kicker who can't boom it from 50 yards out. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And when people say, "Oh, you're hating," it's illogical. Somebody said, "Oh, well, Bill Belichick spent a 5th-round pick on a punter." Yeah, he's dumb too. How about that? He's dumb too. I don't care. Punters aren't people. They don't matter. They're not football players. And now if you're drafted in the 4th round, sorry if I have an expectation of you to actually kick the ball and do well. Unbelievable. You could have had a real football player in the 4th round. Unbelievable.
Hey, kickers and specialists, they're kind of like offensive linemen in the sense. If they're messing up, it's highlighted to the nth degree. Like Robbie Gould, again, I think a lot of the issues that like we have, like when we think of roster construction and cap strategy and things like that, how you build a team, something that you and I are both very interested in, not just the evaluation that occurs on the field, but when you got this guy who's making a lot of money at a position, like you said, there is some reality to what you said. You can find a punter right now who's sitting on his couch, likely bring him off the couch and give you pretty similar production from a punter standpoint. So when you have that situation with the kicker, and like we've seen Chase McLaughlin come in and do well in spots. Yeah. Like what? Just like, do you think Robbie Gould is solidified here? Maybe in 2022. Like, how do you kind of view like his progression? And
yes, Brad, he is. You know why? Because the front office extended him, and his dead cap hit is $8 million next year if they move off of him.
Yes.
In what world? Parag Marante, I thought you hated spending money, but you spend up on a kicker? It's baffling, because if you cut him, $8 million dead cap hit for a guy who is 5 for 12 from 50 since 2019. Joey Sly was here for 3 weeks and was 2 for 2 from 50 off the street. Make it make sense. And you paid him nothing. Kickers aren't people. They don't deserve contracts. You deserve the bare minimum, and you should be happy that you're given pads. Goodness gracious, man. $8 million dead cap hit. I will never let that go, ever. I don't care. Call me a crybaby, call me a whiner. I don't give a shit. That's a terrible deal. It's a terrible deal. It makes no sense, especially when you're penny pinching on other positions. You don't want to spend up at cornerback. You lowball guys with their contract, but you spend up for a guy who wanted to go back to Chicago? Give me a break, man. Give me a damn break. And then he misses the extra point. If the 49ers would have lost because of that extra point, I would have went absolutely nuclear on the timeline. Nuclear. Because that's what it was looking like. It was looking like that extra point was about to be the reason they were going to lose that game.
And 5 of 12 from 50 with an offense that predicates moving the ball with the run game, which doesn't always necessarily translate into touchdowns. You need those points. That's the difference in wins and losses. That's why you're theoretically paying a guy at that position that much money to be automatic.
You know who you pay?
One
kicker.
Both jobs.
No. You pay the only kicker who deserves any sort of money.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
The only kicker that deserves any sort of money is because he's automatic from 50, 60, 80, 10, 20, Justin Tucker. Everybody else, you deserve nothing. And you're just the same. Harrison Butker, Mason Crosby, Robbie Gould, you're all the same thing. You're all the same thing. Either you make them from league average and you hope that you make them from 50. Justin Tucker is the only kicker that deserves any sort of money because he makes them from 50 consistently. I think I've seen him miss one kick in the last 3 years. And if he misses a kick, you got to sit around and act like, oh man, what's wrong with Justin Tucker? That's how good he's been.
Absolutely. He has been. And this is going to be something that will live with us until there are changes at the position. It is kind of an is what it is situation at that position. So we'll see how it plays out because like you indicated, all signs show that Gould will be here next year. I'm sure. Mitch is up for an extension or up for a contract soon.
Max contract. Go ahead. Go do it. Go do it, Niners. Make sure you lock in that great tackler.
Let's go, Parag. Let's go.
Lock him in, Parag.
I think this is a perfect transition to kind of start talking about maybe some of the play calling on the offensive side, some of the performance that we've seen from the quarterback. Let's start with the underneath situation with Bobby Wagner picking off Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, we can talk about it in a vacuum, basically just that specific situation, but I really think it's a lot more than that. It's definitely a much more nuanced situation.
For sure.
So tell me a little bit about, both cases.
So there was a concerted effort to get Jimmy Garoppolo into shotgun because Kyle Shanahan doesn't like him with his back to the defense. And the reason that is because he predetermines throws. Yes. And you saw it happen on this throw right here. Turns his back, already had his idea on where the ball was going to go, never accounted for the underneath linebacker or even looked to see where the underneath linebacker was. The underneath linebacker continues to be John Cena to Jimmy Garoppolo, and He just gets to the end of his drop, puts the back foot down, and is throwing it. And Bobby Wagner, I'm sure, was just like, oh, here it is. Thank you. Like once the arm goes up, he already knew he was getting it. And it's just the predetermined reads. And when you're winning and we say, wow, look at this read he missed. Oh, you're nitpicking. But when you lose and you're turning the ball over because you're predetermining reads and you're missing other guys, you're not taking the easy check down. For a guy who doesn't throw the ball a lot downfield, he sure makes a lot of high-risk throws. For a guy that doesn't throw the ball down past 10, 15 yards to the middle of the field, it sure seems like he puts the ball in harm's way. Like, Patrick Mahomes has a ton of interceptions, but at least he's throwing the ball down the field, right?
What would you contribute that to from an evaluation standpoint?
I just don't think he understands defenses that well. Plain and simple. And look, it's not easy. I'm not sitting here acting like it's easy, right? I've never played quarterback, obviously, right? Patrick Mahomes talked about it. Patrick Mahomes talked about it in an interview, and I think it was after the Super Bowl. And he talked about he was like, I just learned how to read defenses this year, like in terms of what they want to do. So it's not something that comes right away, right? No. Once defenses lock onto your tendencies and you don't either adjust or get better or, use your brain more and understand either the route concepts, either what they're doing. Okay, safety's pulled down here, three's going this way. Like, if you don't start to understand the game in that way, that's when you're going to have these sort of throws. And I don't think that in year 8, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is ever going to change. And this is what we've been saying all year. This is Jimmy. This is Jimmy, unfortunately. And for every one of these throws, there's a sparkler in there in the middle where you're just like, oh, look at that. But the inconsistencies and when they're the reason, like, you can't get credit for stopping a robbery when you left your door unlocked. If that makes sense, right? Like, you left the door unlocked and then the robber comes in and then you stop and you're like, oh, look what I did. Yeah, lock the door. Don't throw the pick first. Don't throw the pick first. Then you won't have to come back. Don't put your defense on the field again after and then force them to make stops when they just got off the field. So you don't get credit. Like, you shouldn't get credit for the game-winning drives or anything like that when you're the one who put your team against the wall. And it's been happening. And, I mean, it just is what it is. I don't want to come off as a Jimmy hater. Jimmy Garoppolo's not trash by any stretch of the imagination. Not trash. No. He's peaked. And that's it. And I don't know how anybody who can watch him play and not say that he's peaked. There's nothing more that he can do. He's not going to grow more. He's not going to change the way he is. And that's fine. When you have Jimmy Garoppolo on your team, you have to tailor your offense around him and his strengths. And you have to play to that. He can't lift you. And he can't do things outside of the construct of what you've done for him. That's it. And if you do allow him to do whatever he wants, God help you. So it's really a lot of things. He's not trash. No. But in terms of what we were sold this team being, and I know this is the big hot topic, in terms of what we were told that this team was going to be, and Jimmy gives you the best chance to win, I think if an oracle came to Kyle Shanahan and said, you're going to be 6-6 after 12 games, he probably would just say, let's play the rook. But you don't have the foresight to see that. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. And I think when we were looking at the evolution process of Jimmy Garoppolo, I specifically was looking at the 2020 year. I knew going into 2019, coming off the ACL, his first full season as a career starter, I knew 2019, I was going to put an asterisk on it from a developmental standpoint for Jimmy Garoppolo, because I knew he's still getting his feet under him and still trying to come back from the injury. It's a hard injury to come back from for a lot of quarterbacks, not just Jimmy. So I was really looking at that 2020 year. I was really hoping to see the development in not the physical tools or the physical skills, but the mental processing, the ability to see the defenses and anticipate where coverage is going or where they're rolling coverage or disguising to then be able to drop and fall back and diagnose in real time to then find the proper read. And I just think one of the hard things is right now, and especially you add an entire another level of complexity by trading the future of your franchise to go and select a quarterback at number 3 and go all offseason saying you were trying to find a starting quarterback. Literally, Kyle Shanahan said that I think 7 times in one press conference. So it just adds this immense layer of complexity when we don't see the player Jimmy Garoppolo developing in that specific category. I think we all understand that he is capable. He can be a top 20 starter in this league statistically.
That's valuable.
And do all those kinds of things. He can win games. He can be efficient in spots. It's just like those glaring plays. And again, like that one, we talked about the B-Wags situation where he didn't see the underneath defender, which is something that has plagued him for the majority of his career. But another thing is that plagued him is him just picking the wrong side to throw the football to. Typically, at least from my understanding of how quarterbacks come to the line of scrimmage, you kind of pick a side based on what the coverage is showing you, and then you work your progressions that way. It just kind of feels like he's always locking on to the wrong side, or they're catching him lock onto the wrong side, and then they just take advantage of it. And like that pick that we saw where he sailed it over Kittle's head, I was like triple coverage.
Yeah.
And then one zone over, you had Trent Sherfield streaking free
and
the entire time.
And that's the point. On that play, when you stop the ball, when you stop the screen, right, when he's throwing the ball, he looks covered, right, because there's a linebacker underneath Sherfield. You have to throw the ball to where he's going.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Those anticipation throws outside of the numbers, he's either not going to throw it or doesn't see it. There are concepts in this Shanahan playbook that require him to just cut the field in half because he doesn't want him going left to right, right? You run a 2-man stick with an out and a clear here, and you look, and then you got a dragon, which is two slants on the right side. And you look, pre-snap, you say, okay, I'm cutting this side of the field off. I'm only going here, and I'm only going here. Kyle Shanahan is doing everything he can to wrap this offense around him and not the other way around. Jimmy doesn't extend the playbook. He draws it down. And there are specific concepts in where Jimmy Garoppolo pre-snap has to look here or here. That's it. When you pick a side, lock the other one off. So I don't necessarily think that he's locking onto a side more than he is just locking onto a read. He's predetermined, like, I'm just going to this guy. That's it, no matter what. And that's more scary than anything. Because when you do that, a smart player like Bobby Wagner, who, 1, understands all the 49ers concepts, 2, reads your eyes, and is going to be in perfect position because he's like that. It's easy. And even sometimes I want to ask some of these linebackers, like, are you surprised that ball's thrown right in your belly? Because the hardest pass to throw is the hardest pass to catch as a defender is the one that's thrown right at you because you never expect that. But why is it constantly happening?
Oh my God, it's too easy.
God.
Like, you
start to think in your head because you're like, yo, the ball's coming right at me. What the hell? Like that it's just, again, man, I don't know what more Kyle has to do. Like, all right. That second interception, if you go back to the Patriots game of 2020, that's the same interception that he threw to Kittle over the middle that got Kittle a helmet in the back of his his back.
Identical. I think Jordan posted that on one of the tweets that I'd put out. And
shout out to Splash Cousin.
Shout out Splash Cousin. And he posted it. And I was like, because I was looking back at the Vikings game. Remember, we had that ugly pick over the middle in the Vikings game. Same kind of concept. Not really reading the defense. You had George Kittle, who was open in the zone directly to the left of it. It felt the same, but it wasn't. The one that Jordan posted was almost identical. Go on and explain what was going on in that play.
That's the thing is, again, over the middle of the field, 10, 15 yards, it's not that the defenders were converging. It's that you've thrown it so high that the single high safety is just standing there in front of it. And he's just like, oh, thank you. Like, it's like, again, you're stuffing the guy's pockets and their stat sheet with these interceptions, because when you look at the stats, they're going to say, oh, they had an interception. They'll never get easier interceptions in their life. Pushing it in between two people is one thing, right? Maybe that becomes an incompletion. It gets knocked down because two guys are going for the ball. They don't know. They're both playing on instinct. But when you sail it over all three of them into the single high safety's arm, that's gross. Here's what's gross. This was the one that really, anytime that Kyle Shanahan needs a play in to jumpstart the offense, it always seems like there's one player, one specific player that he goes to, and he used it in 2019 against the Seattle Seahawks. He used it against He tried to use it against the Rams last year, and Jimmy missed it. And he tried to use it again in this game, and it's always wide open. Nick Mullins missed it in the Eagles game as well. It's always wide open. You run, use check on a wheel route, wide open, defender behind him, and you don't hit it. Look at the coach when he misses that throw. Coach is sick of it, man. But you know what? At the same time, Coach, you're sick of it, but you keep running them out there. I don't know what that says more than anything. I have never seen a coach be more physically disgusted when a quarterback misses a throw, but then stand up on that podium and say, yeah, man, I'm still with them. And, like, what is it, bro? Do you hate it or do you love it? I don't know what you're saying here. And that's what makes this all the more confusing. And I think that that's what's really got more people on the Lance thing, which you're not going to see Trey Lance. That's it. Like, the season's going to have to completely unravel. And it hasn't just yet.
It's hurt. That's pretty much it. So, I mean, that yelling into the void about, man, they need to play Lance, probably not going to happen. The time to play Lance was right away. And and if you were 4-6 or 4-8 right now, or 5-7, or even 6-6, God, I don't even think they would be made, to just be bluntly on. I think they would be. They'd at least. That's just my personal thought process. Sorry for cutting you off, Jason.
No, you're good. And if that's the case, then you have to change your expectations. Someone asked me on Twitter, what happens if tomorrow Kyle Shanahan comes out and says Trey Lance is starting? I was like, then my expectations for this team completely change. Trey Lance is not here to lead you to a Super Bowl. And wins don't matter, in my opinion, anymore. It's all about development. I want to see growth, and that's all I care about. So the 6-6 record would be so much easier for people to digest if Trey Lance was making strides. And that's
each week getting better, right?
But if you have a guy that you say, oh, he gives us the best chance to win, and after 12 games, yes, you're in a wild card spot. But I think that speaks more to the parity in the NFC right now than it does you being a playoff team at this point. When you say that this person gives you this chance to win or a better chance to win and you're at 500, I think it speaks for itself.
I think, like how I've always viewed football when I played football, how I evaluate football, I truly believe that one of the greatest measures of greatness is consistency. You have to be able to perform at a high level consistently. You can't perform at a high level in spots. I think Jimmy has shown that he's more than capable of hitting a big time throw here, a big time throw there, absolutely threading the needle here. He's shown the ability, but the unfortunate thing that comes along with that is the consistently inconsistent play. And at a certain point, I think the perfect storm of Trey Lance sitting on the bench, I think it's driving people crazy. And I think, to your point, it's got to be driving Kyle crazy, especially knowing we can pick up on some tendencies, right, in the play calling. I mean, we might not know exactly what they're trying to accomplish and the game plan and all that stuff. We don't, but we can pick up on tendencies, and we can pick up that it kind of feels like he's just, and I think you've alluded to it multiple times, but almost like insulating him to just not make a mistake. And I almost feel like when you play like that, it's like you're inviting mistakes in a sense. So it's just a weird dynamic, right?
Just feels mismanaged. That's it. I think that it was a gamble to do what they did. And I think that the only way that people would feel really great about it is that this team was performing at the level that they were sold that they were going to be performing. And again, my biggest issue 100%. With everything, all preseason, with everything that was said, wow, we feel like 2019 vibes. When you say that, the fan base starts to believe that, and they start to feel that. I don't think that anybody who really looked at this roster would say that was possible. And you know why it's not possible? Because the NFL is such a year-to-year league, and there is no way for you to duplicate 2019 circumstances. It's absolutely impossible for you to do the same thing that you did in 2019 and to expect the fact that you're just going to be healthy and all of a sudden, boom, rookie DC, yeah, you don't have Buckner, yeah, you don't have this guy, yeah, you don't have this guy, but yeah, we're just going to go right back to 2019. That was the first miscalculation. The second miscalculation was that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to get you anywhere near there in the face of the development of Trey Lance, right? Like, and we talked about it. Bears fans, Justin Fields is going to start on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Bears fans are like, man, our season sucks this year? No, you're losing
they're
games.
They're a dumpster fire.
Right.
But Bears fans will be like, well, we got Darnell Mooney, we got Cole Kmet, we got this guy, we got Justin Fields
and Montgomery, and you're seeing it.
There's a balance.
And you're seeing a little bit of it. They'll take the bumps and bruises for all the highs that he's given, and he's getting reps. And that's the one thing that's been helping Elijah Mitchell. The more he gets reps, the better he gets. Imagine that. So look, I'm not gonna say that I know better than Kyle. Obviously, Kyle doesn't think he's ready. Clearly doesn't think he's ready. But for me, I don't think that you get ready by being on the scout team. I just don't think that that's how you get ready. Okay, I could be wrong. Patrick Mahomes did it. Aaron Rodgers did it. But I think that you're mistaking those guys because they're two of the best, right? And then you expect Trey Lance to be that right out of the gate. I don't think that that's fair either. So that's what I fear next year when Trey Lance is handed the keys, because then 49er fans are going to be like, well, you sat. What were you doing that entire time? Well, the guy needs reps. And you need to also adjust your expectations accordingly when he is given the keys. And I just don't want this fan base to, when he has a rough game to open the season, or he has a few rough games, or he has some rough drives, for you to say, oh, man, this guy's a bust. Relax. Don't get mad at him because he didn't play himself. He's not the one who decided to bench himself. So I think that's what you really need to use, and that's the context that you should be viewing his development next year when he plays.
Absolutely. And we also have to take into account that they're trying to completely retool this dude's throwing mechanics. Like, they're trying to say, hey, you know how you threw at North Dakota?
Or for your entire life? Or for your entire life?
Don't do that anymore. Okay. Well, if I'm going to do that, there is a process that comes along and a learning curve and a timeline that you have to be understanding of and deal with the ups and downs. Again, go back to the game that he started against Arizona. Started out pretty damn good, and then he had that little high pass that floated on him because he probably dipped his elbow a little too much. And we broke it down doing the film, and you could see how they don't like the bounce in his hitch. When he gets to his hitch, he does this little bounce rhythm into his throw. They are trying to eradicate that. That was one of the things that they did in the offseason. But that's just natural motion. So if that's what they want, they have to be okay with this kind of in between, and while he continues to evolve into whatever technique they want. But it's a double-edged sword, right? You need reps, you need experience, but you also have to live with the reps and the experience in real time and not be mad at it. We understand the fan base. All this energy is gonna flip to Trey Lance, and if he has a bad game, you're gonna have all these people just come after Trey. It is what it is. We are a hurt fan base, apparently.
Well, one more thing too, Brad, and I don't want to cut you off. I'm just going to say this real quickly. I think there is something about Kyle needing to make the playoffs this year also, just because year 5, you've only had one really successful season. So I felt like he's been feeling that pressure as well too. Like, even this organization wouldn't have been patient with Trey Lance starting right away and them not making the playoffs or having another losing season. So I don't know, man. I don't even know if I'm really saying anything at this point, because
I think I know exactly what you're saying, because I know the dynamic within the locker room. They really believe that. Again, we talked about it, 2019 vibes. That was a legitimate conversation that they were having in that locker room, in OTAs. One of my conversation with Mike McGlinchey, he said that straight up. So they wanted and envisioned that to be with Jimmy. And that when you keep Jimmy on the roster and he's there and he's been to the Super Bowl, these guys still believe. They believe in that locker room. It doesn't matter what we think as a fan base. Inside those 4 walls, they believe that Jimmy can do this, and they can be put in a situation where they could go back. But again, the fan conversation is completely different because we don't have that. We don't have that access. We don't have that information. We just see it for what it is. We see the draft picks. We see the trade up. We see Trey Lance. We're excited. We see all of it. So those conversations are, of course, going to be different. But it is what it is. It comes down to a situation where I think they made things a lot tougher on themselves this year. Yeah. When it just comes down to that. I think mismanaged the situation.
Mismanagement, calculated. One of those words works here. And one more thing I want to point out with the locker room. You have to remember too, How many guys in this locker room have only known success with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback? Guys who have been here for multiple regimes, who have seen nothing but losing.
Nick
27,
Mullins, CJ
yeah,
Beathard.
right. 2017, he comes in, he wins 5 games, gives the fan base, the organization hope. 2018, the injury happens, kind of wipes that out, and everybody just says, wait to 2019. And then 2019 happens, and the 49ers go to the Super Bowl, and everything starts to look like, okay, we've got our guy. And yeah, sorry, David. People didn't really like that rant. They were like, well, why is he yelling? You know that other things happen. I was like, dude, that's a 2-minute clip from an hour-long stream. Trust me, everybody got
Right.
it. And I was like, everybody got it. But in terms of that, it's just you need to be contextualized in all of those things. And I think that when you look at the guys in this locker room, their only real success that they've ever seen was with Jimmy Garoppolo. So how could they not back him? And again, I'm not knocking them for that, right? And that's it, So I think that a lot of that has to do with it as well. That there is a portion of it where you lose that locker room when you say, "All right, we're dumping Jimmy and we're going with Lance, man," because they're just like, "Bro, like, look how far we went. Like, we can take." Like, they believe that they could take it to the top with him, and I'm not going to get mad at them for that, even if I disagree with them. Obviously, they know more than I do. Their players, they know the vibes, and then they're NFL players, right? I'm just a guy in a room in front of some Batman shit. But it's just is what it is. Like that's a little bit of the roster politics, locker room politics that go into these decisions. So it's never as cut and dry as maybe Kyle doesn't think he's ready, or he doesn't look like this. Like it's a discussion that we're gonna have speculating on why is it that Trey Lance wasn't brought along. So nobody has a right answer at this point because nobody knows what's going on.
And I know it, like from a fan base perspective, we look at these guys like assets. They look like chess pieces. We move them around with ease. Oh, Jalen Moore, put him at right tackle. He plays O-line. He played left tackle. Put him at right tackle. Like, it makes sense, right? Like, or what we had the conversation about with Diamador Lenoir, like slot versus outside. Just move him. It's fine. He's capable, but he's never played the position before, but he should be fine. I think it's a lot of that. There's a situation, obviously, that these guys are humans. There's human elements, just like we would go to bat for our boys, just like we go to bat for each other. Like they're doing the same thing. That's their homie. That's their day one, regardless of what we think from a production standpoint, how he's reading the field or whatever. That's their homie. That's their boy.
Right.
So they got his back, and they don't like the way he's been treated. So it galvanizes the locker room even. So again, it's just I think we've beaten this conversation, or the situation, I should say, to basically like a dead horse. But I think we understand what's at play, and I think you said it simply earlier. This is Jimmy Garoppolo's year. Trey Lance is 2022, and that's just how it is. And they went into this year with that exact plan. Again, I was racking my brain in training camp, with my tinfoil hat, like, oh, Kyle's got a secret competition going on. Like, no, they're dead serious. It was Jimmy Garoppolo from day one, and it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo from here on out. And we can go back and forth about what we don't like, what we like, blah, blah, blah. It really doesn't matter. But it is a question that is asked to you and I constantly. So we did want to absolutely address it. I do want to talk about Kyle a little bit, but as we
hold up, but I wanted to joke it because we kind of went a little bit hard there and everything, and things got a little bit serious. Don't ask for me. Don't ask for me to do state of the franchise with you. I ride with Brad Graham. Don't ask me to do sprint right option without Andrew Pasquini. I ride with my boys. Like, so it's the same thing. I'm just joking. I'm just trying to throw that in there or anything like that. But it's just going to be a speculation thing more than anything. And I mean, I think that right now it's about to be week 14. I mean, it doesn't seem like the 49ers are going to be absolutely eliminated, going into like the last week. And
7th seed right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. The one thing that's been consistent, whether you agree with it or not, is Kyle said Jimmy's our guy. And
so how do we transition now? We have 5 games left in the season. Obviously, Bengals are next. I think it's crystal clear where our strengths and where our weaknesses lie with this team. How do you think that they continue to progress and move forward, especially with the Bengals coming into town this week?
Well, I think
we're going to Bengals actually.
Yeah, right. Cincinnati, a 4:00 game for some reason, which doesn't really make sense. But I think the best way to think about it is
we're going to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now, we're preparing for Cincinnati. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Let's go.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, again, week to week, everything has to just be. Appreciate you, David, man. Nice, New York. Let's go, man. If you haven't read about Kyle,
East Coasters.
Well, all right. I may eventually, but my Only Chance membership will run out if that's the case, But no, I don't want to be biased. But no, like I said, I've got a bone to pick with him, and I think it's more just about the miscalculation and the mismanagement of this whole situation. And I think that he either underestimated or overestimated his chances with the situation. I think what he underestimated was his ability to manage this thing and think that he could develop him in the shadows and win games with Jimmy. I think that that's a little bit, and it goes into a little bit of the portion that I have a problem with Kyle is the ego and the rigidness. My plan, I stick to it. That's fine. And again, I don't have to agree with the plan because I'm not as smart as him. Right. And we didn't agree with the way that he handled Brandon Ayuk, but Brandon Ayuk's balling and Brandon Ayuk credited him. So I may not like the process, but the result is good. So I don't have to agree with the process as long as you get it done. I don't care. This is Kyle's last chance because the last chance, and what I mean by that is the one excuse that is the last excuse that is out there for Kyle Shanahan is he's never had his guy. Well, you've got your guy, and you need to develop him. Everybody wants to attribute Kyle Shanahan with Kirk Cousins. Sean McVay developed Kirk Cousins. People forget that. That wasn't Kyle. They didn't want RG3.
There's a lot of good people on that staff that are head coaches right now in this league.
Sean McVay is Kirk Cousins. He wanted Kirk Cousins, but he didn't develop Kirk Cousins. Sean McVay did. So the one excuse that's out there for Kyle still is he hasn't developed his guy. And if this doesn't work, then the stigma around him and the narrative around him changes completely. This is his last shot. And one more conspiracy theory with this whole thing. Kyle put this off a year because once you start Trey Lance, tick, 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 the clock starts immediately. And many people expect to see not instant results, but you better see that progression fast. Like if he goes into week 8 and he's still not where you think he should be or where you think Kyle Shanahan should have him, the narrative starts to get louder and louder and louder that you can't develop a quarterback. So if that's a rant, that's as close as I'm getting to it, David. But those are my problems with the way that he's doing things right now. But again, I don't have to like it as long as the result's good. Again, I didn't like the way he was handling Brandon Ayuk, but Brandon Ayuk's playing well, and Brandon Ayuk credited him for his turnaround. So I'm sorry, Brad. What was the question before that? Before I went off the rails there?
I think we're just trying to
5
take
games left.
Everything that we've talked about and how I think we know what we are. Again, we've talked about the bed being made and we're sleeping in it. There's no debating when we see it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So how do we move forward?
5 games. That's it. And for the people out there, and I have a real big problem with this as well too. There's one thing to want to see Trey Lance, but wishing Jimmy Garoppolo to fail, I think that's a horrible way to think about things.
Right.
Seriously.
And we took Jimmy took some lumps on this show.
Oh yeah.
But regardless, that's because we care. We want this team to win and be successful.
Always.
I think at the end of the day, we just care about winning, but we have to analyze why they're not winning, right?
Right. And then, people were saying, well, making the wild card and getting bounced in the first round, that's not a successful season. I think that's because of the gold, pun intended, standard, I guess, that the 49ers have wanted to set. But if you're a real 49er fan, how many times in the last few years have they been to the playoffs at all? I mean, this is the most boomer bust team that you've ever seen. Either they go to the NFC Championship or Super Bowl, or they just don't make it and they have a losing season. So I would like to see at least one playoff game. Why wouldn't you want to see one playoff game? Whether they win or lose, that's a whole other thing. But you can't hate from outside the club. That's my thing. There's no way that I don't want to make the playoffs. And you shouldn't be feeling like that. Whether you believe they have a shot at a Super Bowl is a complete different thing. And that's fine to be realistic. But to say you don't want to see a playoff game because they're going to get bounced in the first round, that's wild. That's wild to me. Because it doesn't matter. They don't have a first round pick anyway. It's not like losing helps. It's not like losing.
We're not getting rewarded for losing.
It's not like losing helps. Right. You think the Jets fans are upset? No, they got 3 picks in the first round. Thank you, Jamal Adams. That's fine. But when you have no picks, at least make the playoffs. Give us another week of football. Why wouldn't you want that? And I think that's all it should be. 5 games. Bengals, you got a team that's right behind you. Atlanta, there's a winnable game in front of you with the Texans. Who knows if Davis Mills is going to be starting that game? I hate to look too far ahead, but there are very winnable games ahead of you. Who knows if week 18, the Rams are just going to be sitting everybody because they've already secured their spot and can't do any better. And the 49ers win that game and they make the playoffs. I think at this point, 1, you should be rooting for your team to get into the dance. 2, we only get a certain amount of weeks of football. So why wouldn't you want to extend that one more week? We all love this game, right? That's why we're all yelling into the cameras and we're on the internet yelling at each other. So you don't want another week of football because you don't think that this team has a chance to win a Super Bowl?
I want another week of yelling, Jason, at least.
I've never once done a video show or a podcast when the 49ers have a playoff game. I started 1 year too late. I didn't start in 2019. I started the year after. So I would like to analyze a playoff game. That would be fun. That would be really fun. So
I didn't start doing lives until 2020 too. So it's a good point.
There you go.
I'm in the same boat.
I wish we would have started in 2019. This podcast would have been to the moon, man.
Oh my gosh.
You know the shit I would have talked in 2019 with all these wins and everything, man. I would have been on one. And then
2019 was a vibe, bro.
And then the rant that I would have given after the Super Bowl. Whoa.
Spicy Aponte would have been born right then and there.
I would have flipped the table.
It wouldn't have taken until 2021 to get Spicy Aponte.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah, you should be rooting for a playoff berth. Why wouldn't you? Why don't you want to see an extra week of football? And then I'm going to just, you know what? Call this blind optimism. I call it, this is also a realistic take. Who knows what the hell happens when you get into the playoffs? Exactly. Crazier things have happened. And you can't hate from outside the club, man. So it's all about finishing strong. I understand why this loss hurts more. It's because it's Seattle.
Of course.
It's because it's Seattle. If this loss was to, I don't know, man, the Los Angeles Chargers, yeah, you'd be upset, but you wouldn't be as upset. Yeah, that's it. We still have to make it. So you got 5 games left. And it's right in front of you, too. You have tiebreakers on everybody else. It's not like you need help. Win your games. Win your games. Mm-hmm. You control your destiny. Get into the playoffs. Make the dance. See what happens. That should be the goal. That's it. Don't take your foot. Obviously, that's what the team is thinking. But for a fan, if you're sitting there saying, I hope that Jimmy Garoppolo flames out so we see Trey Lance early, no, absolutely not.
I would be perfectly fine not seeing Trey Lance play another snap this year and we just push the cart down to 2022 because I think you're exactly right. We know what the playoffs like. The playoffs is a different season, just like December football is a different type of football than September football. It's a progression. It's an evolution. And that's why playoff football is, you hear players talk about it all the time. It's a different energy. Players are going that much harder than normal. And it's all you need is an opportunity. And once the opportunity opens the door, and if you can get in, man, that's all you need. Who knows who you're going to be playing across from you? Who knows what injuries they have suffered on their
That's
side.
What I was going to say.
We just got to worry about ourselves, play whoever shows up, and we can, like you said, control our own destiny.
So let's say you draw the Green Bay Packers in the first game, and you're sitting there like, oh, man, the Packers are going to, but Aaron Rodgers twists his ankle, can't finish the game, and they got to put Jordan Love in. All of a sudden, the 49ers have a real chance of winning that game and moving on. That's why you don't wish for injuries, but you never know. And the goal should always be to be a playoff team. Always. That's it. That's all you can ask for. There is no real way of saying, yeah, we're going to make the Super Bowl this year because it doesn't happen. Not everybody's Tom Brady. You don't make Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl back to back to back. I understand the Chiefs have done it back to back years. That they're different. I get that. Those are special cases. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. 1. Russell Wilson's won 1 Super Bowl. You would consider those guys elite. Maybe not Russell Wilson this season. But that just goes to show you how hard the league is. That's it. You should always want to make the playoffs.
Absolutely. Sean is saying, Jason, you nailed it. The reason we need to get the playoffs is we're auto going to NFC Championship or Super Bowl. That's how us 49ers roll. Boom or bust. I'd say that's a pretty good representation of 49er fans. We're all in or we're all out. There's no middle ground. There's no rationalizing. It's just We're in.
It's just
or we're out.
Get in and you roll everybody and then have heartbreak at the end, or you just get your heart sorted out in the middle of the season and you know where you're at. So
Exactly. And nothing against Trice. Trice, we see it around here all the time. But he's like, so we're wishing on a star now? No, it's the reality of the situation. We're in the set. If the playoffs were to start today, we're 7th seed. We're in.
Look, realistically, Trice, there's nobody that should be telling you that the 49ers are making a Super Bowl run. No, realistically.
We're not. We just want to get in to the dance. That's it.
Yeah, and that's it.
Just give us a ticket.
Like, again, I'm a betting man. I would have put money on the 49ers going to the Super Bowl. Like, but you got to make it at least, and let's just see what happens. That's it. And then whatever. If you get bounced in the first round, you get bounced. You know, and look, don't give me the whole at the Trey Lance development, at the cost of Trey Lance development. Trey Lance isn't playing this year. And if you disagree with that, you're just going to continue to disagree with it because it's not going to happen unless something terrible happens. So, hey, they're in the playoffs right now. Like,
hey, we're going to keep talking about playoffs as long as they have a chance. And we understand, again, partly to kind of tie in the entire conversation that we've having about Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, the offense, the defense. They have the ability. It's just what type of level of consistency do we get week in and week out? And we're going to find out what we're going to get against the Bengals. That's the thing. It's like, I think the expectations need to be drawn back a bit and just recognize that we are capable of winning, but we're also capable of losing in demoralizing fashion. And that's kind of what the 2021 San Francisco 49ers are. And so we're not having grandiose dreams of the 49ers just like making the playoffs and the wild card and knocking out these Titans on their way to the Super Bowl. Like, that would be fantastic. We would have a blast. Content would be through the absolute roof. But it is what it is. We got to take it one game at a time. And if the playoffs were to start today, they're in. And they're playing the Packers. And the 49ers almost beat the Packers week 3 with an abysmal performance from Jimmy Garoppolo for an entire half. A game that you and I were there and we watched in person. And just...
I've been to a few games this year. That's my favorite one. It is, man. I'm not, and it was really because I got to sit there with you, and then the whole Trey Lance thing, the Trey Lance thing at the half, that was really cool. And then I have that video. I have that video of us celebrating after the Kyle Juszczyk touchdown, and then literally the video of us after Mason Crosby makes the field goal, and
the disappointment, the sad vibes.
And when we walked out of that stadium, we're just walking, and we were just really quiet with each other, man. It was so good, man. That was such a blast, man. That was my first time at Levi's, man. Maybe I should just never go again. I go to Philly.
You're coming back.
Oh, yeah,
you're coming back. We're going to do it right. We got to get Jason's first dub at Levi's. But again, the whole point of everything that we're just trying to talk about is we're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to try to put it on a linear timeline, and we're going to try to break it apart and make it make sense. Yeah. It's not going to make sense for a lot of people, and that's perfectly fine, but that's what we do. We talk about it. We analyze it. We throw out whatever, see what sticks, what doesn't stick, and that's why we love what we do, right, Jason? So is there anything else? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so, like, it's perfectly acceptable to be realistic and say that you don't see this team to be a Super Bowl team because why would you say that right now at 6-6? Perfectly. I think the only thing that you should be that is wrong, that is dead wrong, is wanting this team to not win or succeed or Jimmy Garoppolo to not play well just so you could see Trey Lance. And I think that's it. Right. It's completely realistic and you're not wrong for saying that you don't think the 49ers are a Super Bowl team. I don't think they are. And that's it. Just look, we only get a certain amount of weeks of football. That's it. Your kid is a C- student. You still support him. So that's C- is passing.
Hey, that's our kid. It's our kid. No matter what, that's our kid.
At a certain point in high school, my parents would have killed for C-.
So would have mine. Anything for a C-, we'll take it.
It went from like
right now, right? Hey, just give us a C+. We'll take C+. Right. That's all we need.
Right.
That's all we need. Just a little above average.
That was a good comment right there. That was one of the better ones. Yeah.
It was. But I think we're aligned. I think it's just a situation where we look at the past, we understand why we are here. We are looking at where we are and why we are here, and we're seeing how that translates to the future. And that's really all we can do. But As always, Jason, the state of the franchise episodes are pretty lit. I'm not going to lie. I hope you guys continue to enjoy them. As you guys know, we are streaming on both of our platforms, so make sure you like and subscribe both videos, and you're subscribing to both YouTube channels. Jason, let these fine people know where else to get your content.
Yeah, and if you guys really want to help, before I get into all that, liking the video helps more than you guys know. It sends it up into the algorithm. It gets more eyes on us. It brings more people in who have never seen us before, that don't know us from Twitter, and that is the best way that you guys can help. Super chats are amazing. We appreciate all the donations. You guys don't understand. We both have families, and you are helping us not only continue to create content, but you're buying stuff for our family. You're helping us, put food on the table, and that we'll never be able to thank you enough for. So, and if you want to help, you don't want to send a super chat, just give us a like. We'll take that, and that's probably one of the best ways that you can do it. But for me, you can follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Make sure you subscribe to mine and Brad's channel, and hit that notification bell for whenever we go live. Sprint Right Option podcast 2 times a week. We'll be going on Friday. Tomorrow I'll be on Grant's show, the show that you love to hate. So I'm going to go on there and get yelled at a bunch in the comments. I can't wait. Can't wait for people to just say, oh, man, even though all I do is disagree with Grant on those shows, some people, well, you're just following what Grant says.
You're just guilty by association, Jason.
But you clearly never listened to us talk. Like, that man was saying something the other day, and I was like, no, what are you talking about, Grant? Like, not at all. Like, don't do that. And he'll even be like, all right, yeah, good point. But fun-filled week of content. Sunday before the games, come get your fantasy football questions, answers, start sits, and then right after the game, the post-game shows are lit. And make sure you're tuned into this guy right here, this side, this way, I don't know, this way. Yeah, there we go. Make sure you're tuned into this guy's live reactions during the game, because those are lit. I don't understand how he keeps you guys entertained and sends out tweets during the game. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
I don't know that,
how See, J-Tan watches. He knows the vibes. He knows. Grant will say something off the wall, and I'll be like, no. Come on, man.
You keep him level.
I try to keep him level. Like Vish completely shuts him down, and I like to hear him out, and then I'm just like, no, I don't really like that. But,
Vish just goes like, no, that's
no. Vish is just like, no, that's not how that works at all. Like Vish is short for vicious.
Ooh, that is actually really true. Vish is a legend on the 49er podcaster circuit, I guess you would say.
I guess.
And continues to grow. But again, thank you guys as always. The chat is undefeated. Again, another reason why these lives are so much fun. There you go, my guy. We got you up there.
Sorry, Bigfoot's mom. Blame Brad. I have no control over the comments.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm over here clicking all the buttons. So we'll be back next Wednesday per usual. State of the Franchise episodes are every Wednesday with Jason Aponte, 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, 4:30 Eastern Time. So make sure you're vibing with us per usual. And it's always a blast, Jason. I appreciate it. And let's beat these Bengals, yeah?
Yeah, man. Screw the Bengals. What the hell are we doing here, man?
Screw the Bengals.
Also, free tip: start T. Higgins and Jamar Chase wherever you have them. Sorry, yes. I didn't mean to do that out loud. Yeah, yes. I mean, I would expect a big game for T. Higgins this week. So.
Oh, I'm firing up all my T. Higgins shares, and I'm going to be happy about it. I just hope that my team can find the balance. We can let the man eat a little bit, but we got to eat as well.
Oh no! Look, here's the balance. T. Higgins goes off, and the 49ers win.
Boom. I'm happy.
He could score 3 touchdowns and the 49ers win.
I love it. I hope so.
I don't think that's the recipe to win, but I'm just saying there is a scenario where that happens. One more thing, too, fantasy football related.
Go for
it. If you're in a league, remember to remind your commissioner that there's another week of football and that there is a bye week. Your playoffs should not be starting this week. Imagine starting your playoffs with Eagles players who can't play, the Patriots who can't play. You have to start your playoffs a little bit later. Talk to your commissioner. Playing in your playoffs this week, get out of that league.
One of my dynasty leagues is one of my home leagues got locked in.
Eek.
We had a commissioner switch, and the new commission didn't switch it over. Thankfully, I'm sitting with the week 1 bye, so I don't gotta worry. I don't gotta worry about any of my bye players right now. So we're just gonna wait till next week and fire everyone up. But it's wild. It's wild.
That's wild.
It's wild. So it is what it is. But again, thank you guys as always. And make sure you do tune in to Jason if you do have any crucial fantasy football questions. This dude's a fantasy football savant. You don't even want to know how many leagues he's in. You doing fantasy football shows like pre-show and stuff like that, or how does that work?
So Sundays right after the inactives come out, which is noon my time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's when you can pop in. You just throw your question in the chat. It'll be me, Weston, and Lou, who of the We're Talking Football podcast. All three of us give you insight. We don't always agree, but we always give you something to think about, just so you can either try to make your decision. So it shouldn't be like I'm the end all be all. I should just give you a little nugget of information that should sway you one way or the other, or make you feel good about who you're starting.
Absolutely. So again, we appreciate all you guys tuning in, supporting, engaging. Again, the chat engagement alone keeps this show thriving. So we appreciate it as always. Sourdough Squad always representing. But until then, guys, we will see you around the bend. Of course, we're doing daily content, so we'll be across the board. Find Jason or I anywhere, and we'll keep you updated on the 49ers. But until next time, Jason, it's been a blast. I'll see you next Wednesday. Hopefully with that Bengals W, right?
Sit, man. Just manifest it. Let's go.
Let's manifest. All right.